guys, so just wanted to jump on here real quick and talk a little bit about the YZ250 two-stroke. This is a 2013 YZ250. Obviously, she's a two-smoker, one of my favorite styles of bikes. And this is actually I think it's the 6th YZ250 chassis I've owned. So I've had a few steel frame versions, which are the ones that I had. I had a 99, I had a 2002, 2003, 2004, a 2005 when we got into the aluminum frame versions, 2006, 2013, 2009, and yeah, that's it. I believe that's it. So yeah, a lot of YZs have come through my garage, and they have always been something that I seem to divert back to. Now, you guys if you follow the channel, you know that I'm on also YZ250 FX, a 2015. It's my dad's old trail bike, and it needed a new home, and I actually love the bike. For off-road riding, it's just pure joy. It's got the e-start, it's a fuel injected, I don't have to mix the gas, it's got a kickstand, SSS suspension, and the power is plenty for me to go ride a 50, 60 mile day out in the trails. So that being said, it still leaves me with a little bit to be desired. The little bit to be desired being, I want a little more power, a little more of that third gear roll-on play style response and bike action. The YZ250 is like by far my most favorite power delivery for a 250 two-stroke. I've ridden the KTMs, the RMs. Probably the only 250 two-stroke I haven't really spent much time on is the KX. I've actually never ridden a KX 250, so I think they look sick. James Stewart did some crazy stuff on those back in the day, and major props to him. Those bikes are sick, but I've never been on one. So the RMs, here's my thought process, why I go back to the Yamahas, why I'm thinking, because I just keep figuring out, okay, I keep going back to this bike, why? And I think a couple of things stand out to me. And I'm gonna go over the other brands that I consider. So I look around the KTM and the Huskies, right? And now Gas. Obvious contenders for the most technologically advanced two-strokes out there. The reason I hesitate or I'm not drawn to those, I had a KTM 150 SX that you guys know about. I've ridden a KTM 250 two-strokes a few times here and there at the track and on the trails, and I'm just not a fan of the geometry. I don't know if I'm way off base, maybe I feel weird about it, but the head tube angle and the steer tube angle just seem too much over the front axle. I don't feel like the bike has like a supple feel to it. I feel like it's really knife edge, razor sharp. If you guys happen to be wearing a Vital shirt, but if you guys happen to read any of my old reviews when we were test riding, when I got to test ride with Vital, the KTM and the Huskies always kind of gave me that sentiment. I described them as very razor precise in like a scalpel for riding, right? You jump on, you go fast, and you turn and you train and you do this, and it's great for racing probably. But from the perspective of enjoying riding, I've just always found myself at home on the Japanese style bikes. And the Honda and the Yamahas especially have just been super playful for me. So I don't know if it's just maybe my riding style, which is probably medium slow, but something along the lines of how I ride, what I enjoy when I ride. I like being able to just kind of feel like, the bike's got a manual spot almost where you can just kind of pop up the front end and push on the rear to where it comes under. I like the balance that the Yamaha has, especially with a good mix of the front end being really fairly planted, point and shoot. Like, it's very precise, but you still get some of that rear steer playfulness out of the back of the bike. So it's done a really good job of combining a lot of attributes that a lot of other bikes strive for. Now, going back to the bike brand, so RM 250s. The main reason I don't seek out RM 250, 250 two-strokes, and KXs for the most part, and even the YZs from the older steel days, it probably doesn't really affect me, or I wouldn't even notice, except I have noticed it on a couple of bikes I've bought used, is that the steel chassis over time, they do stretch. They will change the geometry Even if you look back on some of the pros, after a weekend of racing or a week of testing, back in the day on the steel chassis, the bikes would actually have a different geometry degree angle on the head tube and the slack angle of the bike, just because it's a product of that type of material. The steel stretches, the bike wears over time, and there's more cause and more, I guess, failure point options or likelihood of that happening. So I just don't want to deal with that. I want the bike to be as close to OEM spec for Geo as possible. So aluminum frame, that leaves me with basically, especially since I just don't care for the KTM and Huskies and the gas, it's gonna leave me with the Yamaha and the Honda. Obviously, I love Hondas. They're still like my favorite brand of bike in terms of like, they're just cool. I idolized them as a kid growing up, and I love the brand. I love what they stand for, the rideability, the ease of use, all that stuff. And I still love Hondas, but the Honda, and if you see my channel, go back, check it out. I built up 2 Hondas, CR250s. I know I've owned 3 CR250s, 2 02s, and 106. And then I didn't have a CR125, I don't believe. No, I don't think so. Nope. But the CR250 two-stroke is a legacy bike, right? Like that thing has some history. It's somewhat of a collector's item. It's just got this aura to it when you're at the track, and I think that's awesome. I love that because people come up and like, oh dude, sick CR250, what year is it? What do you have done to it? Do you still have the Mikuni on there? Do you switch out the carb? All that kind of stuff. So the 06 I had last, I did everything, like frame off, fully redone, completely. Not a part on that bike was either not replaced or completely refurbished and reserviced to be as good as we could possibly get to close as new or better. So everything was done. Brakes upgraded, suspension, pipe, the engine, the bottom end, the gears, the transmission, everything was polished and balanced. Just everything was done on the bike, electron carburetor. And even with that all done, I hate to say it, but this one, which, it's a 2013, it was fairly well taken care of. It's been built, had a rebuilt bottom and top end recently. But that's it. It's got blown fork seals. It's got some missing bolts. The shift lever is literally about to fall off, which I forgot to tighten before I took it out. And after one day on this, it honestly, I'd rather be on this chassis and this bike as it stands over my 06 that was fully built. And that's hard for me to say because I spent almost all in all about a year between waiting for parts, waiting for stuff to get assembled, waiting for things to get dialed in and sending things back and forth. But this bike, right off the used market, 2013 YZ250, it's sick. Some of the things that I noticed right off the bat, even in contrast to the YZ250FX, which is right here, which you can't see in the video, this weekend we've had a ton of rain. We have a lot of rut tracks and grass tracks, natural areas to ride and terrain. And jumping back and forth between these and my buddy's Husky and the 250F and this bike, man, this bike corners on a rut track like a dream. It's insane. And something about the way that the power rolls on, especially in third gear, it's just supple. It's totally predictable, but it's super powerful. It blows the doors off the 250FX for power. I mean, I can jump on this and I'm instantly humbled again as to, oh yeah, 252 stroke, it's got some balls. So that's kind of cool. I rode it with blown fork seals. I'm gonna get it all serviced, but even with the seals blown and with me not even setting, I didn't even set the sag for myself. It's gotta be relatively close. I was getting a little bit of bonk, but everything felt amazing and even better in many scenarios than the 250FX, which is set up for me. And my CR250. So it eats up rolling, little rolling ruts and just rollers, I guess, sand whips out there in the desert, and turns like a dream. Needs to be bled a little bit on the brakes. The rear brake needs to be adjusted. It's going a little too low for my liking. But aside from that, it's insane. It shifts well. The clutch is super soft for a 252 stroke. I had to put the hydraulic Magura on my CR250 because I'm a wimp and I get arm pump really fast. So I didn't even really struggle with arm pump on this bike. And we rode grass tracks for, 15, 20 minutes a session where you're heavy braking, standing up, back and forth, sitting, all that stuff. So impressed with it. From a maintenance standpoint, I've always just ran these things bone stock. The engine bone stock, 91 pump gas mixed at 32:1, and I've just never had an issue. I've taken the pistons out at 50, 60 hours in the past, and they look as good as new, literally. So it's pretty wild to see a bike that comes off the floor used, that obviously Yamaha hasn't touched since basically 2006. They've made minor changes here and there along the way, but it's theoretically very similar bike as it was back then. And yeah, that's why I'm on the YZ250. I did take it out one ride so far. I've got some stuff I'm gonna put on it. Got some stuff sitting on the workbench here, and I'm gonna get the suspension done, and she's gonna look a little bit prettier, something a little more with my style, and put my kind of touch on it. But other than that, this thing is gonna be pretty much rock and roll. So just in case you guys wanted to know my take on why I keep going back to these YZ250s, literally, I think, I said at the beginning of the video, I think I said 6, but it might have been, I'm trying to think, I got, let's see, 125, 250, 250, 250, 250, 250, 250, 250. I've literally had 9 of these bikes already. 9 Yamaha 2-strokes. Of those, 2 of them were 125. So I guess 7 YZ250s. That's crazy to say out loud. Wow, I've got a problem. But yeah, you can find these on Craigslist right now. Prices are probably a little bit inflated just due to whatever, the current market has done this last year with everything going on. But usually between around, realistically, they should be between like 3,000 and 3,000 to 4,500 bucks or so realistically on the market. But right now they're a little bit higher. So, around 3,500 to 4,500 bucks, you can pick up a clean aluminum framed YZ252 stroke. You can put the updated plastics and airbox on it. So it looks, this one came with it used, so that's cool. Comes with the, same kit and fit and finish as the 2021s. And yeah, it's a plug and play bike. So excited to ride this thing, not so much build it, just ride it and have fun this spring, and take it to the track, go out to the hills, trails, whatever it is, and yeah, we'll enjoy this thing. So stay tuned, subscribe, let me know what you guys like, what 2-strokes you like. If anything I said was wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments below, or if you have any suggestions or insights, that's awesome. So thanks for watching the channel. I know we're kind of all over with cars, bikes, mountain bikes, dirt bikes, all sorts of weird stuff, houses, but all that stuff comes together. It's kind of my lifestyle. So let me know if you guys have any questions. And of course, if you know of anybody checking out Idaho or the Boise area, feel free to put them in touch with me, as I'm an agent out here. Love to help people find homes out here, as I did myself about 5 years ago. So thanks for watching. Have a good night. See you guys.